The huge meeting room of the Galactic Council was quiet. Hundreds of aliens from different planets sat around a big round table. They all looked different. Some had green skin, others had tentacles, and a few even glowed in the dark. But they all shared one thing. They were the most important leaders in the galaxy. At the head of the table sat High Counselor Jay. He was tall and thin, with blue skin that shimmered like the ocean. His 4 eyes blinked slowly as he looked at the others. "Let's begin our yearly meeting," he said in a calm voice. The room filled with soft whispers as the council members started to talk about boring things. They discussed trade routes, shared resources, and solved small fights between planets. It was just another normal day for the Galactic Council. But then, everything changed. A loud alarm started to ring. Red lights flashed all around the room. The calm whispers turned into scared shouts. "What's happening?" yelled a council member with 3 arms. High Counselor Jay stood up quickly. "Security," he called out. "Report." A small round robot floated into the room. It spoke in a metallic voice. "High Counselor, we have detected an unknown ship entering restricted space." The room got very quiet. Everyone looked worried. "Show us," Jay ordered. A big screen appeared in the middle of the room. On it, they could see a ship. But it wasn't like any ship they had ever seen before. It was big and black, with sharp edges that made it look scary. It moved through space like a predator hunting its prey. "What kind of ship is that?" asked a council member with antenna. The robot beeped and whirred as it thought. "Unknown," it said finally. "This ship does not match any known designs in our database." Jay frowned. "Where did it come from?" The robot beeped again. "The ship's trajectory suggests it came from the Sol system." A gasp went through the room. Everyone knew about the Sol system. It was home to a planet called Earth. But Earth wasn't supposed to have ships like this. Earth was a small, unimportant planet. Its people didn't even know about the Galactic Council. "That's impossible," said a council member with scales. "The humans of Earth don't have space travel. They can barely reach their own moon." But the evidence was right in front of them. The unknown ship, big and scary, was definitely there. "We need to do something," said another council member. "What if they're hostile?" Jay raised his hand for quiet. "Let's not jump to conclusions," he said. "We need more information." He turned to a small alien with purple fur. "Ambassador Sung," he said, "can you try to talk to them?" Sung nodded and walked to a communication device. He pressed some buttons and spoke into it. "Unknown ship, this is the Galactic Council. Please identify yourself." They waited. Seconds felt like hours. Then, a voice came through the speakers. It was unlike any voice they had heard before. "This is Captain Hannah of the HSS Thunderbolt," the voice said. It sounded strong and confident. "We come from Earth. We demand to speak with your leaders." The room exploded into chaos. Council members jumped up, shouting and pointing at the screen. Some were scared, others were angry. A few even looked excited. Jay tried to calm everyone down, but it was hard. This was not supposed to happen. Humans weren't supposed to be here. They weren't supposed to have ships like the Thunderbolt. They weren't supposed to know about the Galactic Council. As the shouting got louder, Jay looked at the screen again. The black ship, the HS Thunderbolt, just sat there in space. It was waiting. But for what? Jay knew one thing for sure. Everything was about to change. The galaxy would never be the same again. And it all started with this moment, the day a human warship showed up at the Galactic Council. He took a deep breath and spoke into the communication device. "Captain Hannah," he said, trying to sound calm. "This is High Counselor Jay. We have much to discuss." And with those words, a new chapter in galactic history began. The Galactic Council room was still noisy. Everyone was talking at once. High Counselor Jay had to shout to be heard. "Quiet, please," he said. "We need to handle this carefully." Slowly, the room became silent. All eyes turned to Jay. He looked worried, but tried to stay calm. Ambassador Sung, Jay said, please continue talking to the human ship. Sung nodded. His purple fur was standing up, showing he was nervous. He spoke into the communication device again. Captain Hana of the HSS Thunderbolt, Sung said, we welcome you to Galactic Council space, but we are surprised to see you. We didn't know Earth had ships like yours. There was a pause. Then Captain Hana's voice came back. It sounded a bit angry. You mean you didn't think we were smart enough to build them, she said. Sung's eyes went wide. He looked at Jai for help. Jai stepped forward to speak. Captain Hana, he said, we apologize if we offended you. We are just surprised. Can you tell us why you are here? We're here to protect Earth's interests, Captain Hana said. We know about the Galactic Council now. We want to make sure you're not a threat to us. Many council members gasped. They weren't used to anyone talking to them like this. A threat, said a council member with 4 arms. We are peaceful. Are you? Captain Hana asked. Then why have you been watching Earth without talking to us? Why have you been keeping us in the dark? The council members looked at each other. They didn't know what to say. It was true they had been watching Earth, but they didn't think it was wrong. Jay tried to explain. Captain, we have a policy of not interfering with developing worlds. We were waiting for Earth to discover faster than light travel on its own. Well, surprise, Captain Hana said. We did, and we found out about you too. Now we want answers. The tone of her voice made everyone nervous. Some council members started whispering again. What if they attack us? One asked. We should strike first, said another. Jay held up his hands for quiet. No one is attacking anyone, he said firmly. He turned back to the communication device. Captain Hana, he said, we want peace. Can we meet face to face? We can explain everything. There was a long pause. Everyone held their breath, waiting for the answer. All right, Captain Hana said finally. I'll come to your station, but I'm bringing my own security. Jay nodded, even though Captain Hana couldn't see him. Of course, he said. We'll prepare a meeting room. As the communication ended, the council room burst into activity again. We can't let them on the station, shouted one member. What if it's a trick? Asked another. But Jay was firm. We must show them we are peaceful, he said. This is our chance to start fresh. As the council argued, a small ship left the Thunderbolt. It headed towards the Galactic Council's space station. Inside the ship, Captain Hana sat with her team. She was a tall woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. She looked at her crew. Remember, she said, we're here to protect Earth. Be polite, but be ready for anything. Her second-in-command, a man named Tai, nodded. Do you think they'll listen to us, Captain? He asked. Hana's face was serious. They'd better, she said, or they'll find out what humans can really do. As their ship got closer to the station, everyone felt tense. Humans and aliens were about to meet face to face for the first time. No one knew what would happen next, but everyone knew that after today, the galaxy would never be the same. The small ship docked at the station. Captain Hana and her team stepped out. They were about to make history. As Captain Hana and her team walked through the Galactic Council's space station, they couldn't help but feel a mix of wonder and worry. The halls were filled with strange sights and sounds. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved around them. Some floating, some crawling, some walking on many legs. Hana kept her face calm, but inside, her mind was racing. She thought back to how they got here, to this moment that would change everything for Earth. It had all started 5 years ago. Hana was just a regular pilot then, flying planes for the Air Force. One day, she was called to a top-secret meeting. In a room deep underground, she learned the truth. Earth had been hiding a big secret for years. They had found a crashed alien ship in the desert. From it, they learned about faster-than-light travel and advanced technology. We need the best pilots, the general had said. We're going to space, and we need to be ready for anything. Hannah had agreed right away. She wanted to protect Earth, to make sure humans had a place among the stars. For 5 years, they worked in secret. They built ships, trained crews, and prepared for the day they would reveal themselves to the galaxy. Now, walking through the alien space station, Hannah felt proud of how far they had come. Earth's first starship, the HS Thunderbolt, was more advanced than anything the Galactic Council had seen before. "Captain," said Ta, her second in command, "look at their technology. It's not as advanced as ours." Hannah nodded. It was true. The Thunderbolt's sensors had easily found the Council's hidden cameras around Earth. Their weapons could destroy whole fleets. Their shields could withstand almost anything. "Remember why we're here," Hannah said quietly to her team. "We're not here to fight. We're here to protect Earth and make sure we have a voice in galactic matters." They'd reached a large door. It opened with a soft hiss. Inside was a big round room. Aliens of all kinds sat around a table, looking nervous. At the head of the table was High Counselor Jay, his blue skin shimmering in the light. "Welcome, Captain Hannah," Jay said, standing up. "We are honored to meet you face to face." Hannah stepped forward. She looked around the room, meeting the eyes, or eye stalks, or sensors, of each council member. "Thank you for having us," she said. Her voice was strong and clear. "We have much to discuss." She sat down at the empty seat they had left for her. Her team stood behind her, alert and ready. "First," Hannah said, "I want to know why you've been watching Earth without talking to us. Why keep us in the dark about the galaxy?" The council members looked at each other. Some seemed ashamed, others defensive. Jay spoke up. "We have a policy of non-interference with developing worlds. We wanted to let you progress naturally." Hannah's eyes narrowed. "And who gave you the right to decide that for us? What if we needed help? What if other aliens who don't follow your rules had attacked us?" A council member with antenna waved them angrily. "We were protecting you," he said. "No," Hannah said firmly. "You were controlling us, keeping us weak and uninformed." She leaned forward. "But that's over now. Earth is here, and we're ready to take our place in the galaxy. We have technology that matches or beats yours. We have determination and creativity that will surprise you." The room was silent. The council members looked shocked. "What do you want?" Jay asked finally. Hannah smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. "We want a seat on this council. We want to be treated as equals. And we want guarantees that Earth will be protected and respected." "Or what?" asked a council member with scales. Hannah's smile faded. "Or we'll protect ourselves. And believe me, you don't want that." The tension in the room was thick. No one had ever spoken to the Galactic Council like this before. But no one had ever met humans before either. As the council members whispered among themselves, Hannah sat back in her chair. She knew this was just the beginning. The real challenge was yet to come. But she was ready. Earth was ready. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The Galactic Council room was in uproar. Captain Hannah's words had shocked everyone. Some council members were shouting. Others were whispering in worried tones. It was clear that no one knew what to do about the humans. High Counselor Jay raised his hands, trying to calm everyone down. "Please, let's discuss this calmly," he said, but his voice was lost in the noise. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the room. Everyone turned to look. It was Captain Hannah. She had slammed her hand on the table. "Enough," she said. Her voice was strong and commanding. "Is this how the Galactic Council handles important matters? By shouting like children?" The room fell silent. Many council members looked embarrassed. Jay nodded at Hannah. "Thank you, Captain," he said. "You're right. We need to handle this properly." He turned to the council. "I call for an emergency meeting to discuss Earth's demands." Captain Hannah stood up. "We'll wait outside," she said. "But don't take too long. We're not known for our patience." As Hannah and her team left the room, The council members started talking again, but quieter this time. Counselor Da, a small alien with silver skin, spoke first. "We should welcome the humans," he said. "They've shown great skill by getting here. We could learn from them." But Counselor Q, a large red alien with 4 arms, disagreed. "They threatened us," he shouted. "We should show them our military might. Teach them to respect us." The council was split. Some agreed with Da, others with Q. The argument went back and forth. "They could be valuable allies," said one member. "Or dangerous enemies," said another. Jay listened to everyone. He knew this decision would change the galaxy forever. He had to choose carefully. As the debate went on, Jay noticed something. The council members who wanted peace were mostly from smaller, weaker planets. Those who wanted to fight were from stronger, more powerful worlds. "Are we afraid of the humans?" Jay asked suddenly. The room went quiet again. "Think about it," Jay continued. "We've watched them for years. We've seen their movies, their books. Humans are creative. They think in ways we don't. Maybe that's why their ship is so advanced." He looked around the room. "If we fight them, we might win. But at what cost? And what if we lose? But if we welcome them, think what we could learn." The council members started whispering again. Jay could see some of them nodding. But Q wasn't convinced. "High Counselor," he said, "you're being too soft. The humans need to learn their place. Let me take my fleet. We'll show them real power." Before Jay could answer, alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed around the room. A hologram appeared in the center of the table. It showed space outside the station. The human ship, the Thunderbolt, was moving. "What are they doing?" someone asked, panic in their voice. As they watched, a small ship left the Thunderbolt. It wasn't the shuttle Captain Hannah had come in. This ship looked different. Dangerous. "They're attacking." Q shouted. "I told you we couldn't trust them." But Jay wasn't so sure. He looked closer at the hologram. The small ship wasn't heading towards them. It was moving towards. Jay's eyes widened. "No," he said softly. "They're not attacking us." Just then, a new ship appeared on the hologram. It was big and covered in weapons. Jay recognized it immediately. It belonged to the Tsar, a violent species that lived on the edge of council space. The Tsar ship was heading straight for the station. But before it could get close, the small human ship moved in front of it. Everyone in the council room held their breath. What would happen next? The answer came in a flash of light. The human ship fired a single shot. The Tsar ship exploded into 1,000,000 pieces. The council room was completely silent. No one could believe what they had just seen. Jay turned to look at the door. Captain Hannah was standing there, a small smile on her face. "I think," Hannah said calmly, "we have a lot more to talk about." The Galactic Council room was silent. Everyone stared at Captain Hannah, then back at the hologram showing the destroyed Tsar ship. No one knew what to say. Finally, High Counselor Jay spoke. "Captain Hannah," he said, his voice shaking a little. "What just happened?" Hannah walked into the room, her team following behind her. She looked calm, as if destroying an enemy ship was something she did every day. "We protected you," she said simply. "The Tsar ship was about to attack this station. We stopped it." Counselor Q jumped up, his 4 arms waving. "How dare you?" he shouted. "You can't just fire weapons in council space." Hannah turned to him, her eyes cold. "Would you rather we let them attack you?" she asked. Q didn't have an answer for that. He sat down, looking angry but also a little scared. Judd looked thoughtful. "How did you know they were going to attack?" he asked. "We scanned their ship," Hannah explained. "Our technology is more advanced than yours. We saw they had weapons ready. We also heard their communications. They were planning to hit the station, then demand that the council give them more territory." The council members looked at each other, shocked. They hadn't known any of this. But our sensors didn't pick up anything," said a council member with antenna. Hannah nodded. Like I said, our technology is more advanced. We see things you can't. Suddenly, more alarms started blaring. The hologram in the center of the room changed. It now showed a large fleet of ships approaching the station. "It's the Tsar fleet," someone shouted. "They're coming to avenge their destroyed ship." Panic spread through the room. Council members started shouting and running around. Some were calling for their own ships. Others were demanding they surrender to the Tsar. But Hannah stayed calm. She turned to Ja. "High Counselor," she said, "with your permission, we'll handle this." Jay looked at her, then at the approaching fleet, then back at her. He took a deep breath. "Very well, Captain," he said. "Show us what you can do." Hannah nodded. She touched a small device on her wrist. "Thunderbolt," she said. "Execute Defense Plan Alpha." For a moment, nothing happened. The Tsar fleet kept getting closer. Some council members were crying now, sure they were about to die. Then suddenly, the hologram changed again. The HSS Thunderbolt, which had seemed so big and scary before, now looked small compared to the Tsar fleet. But it was moving fast, placing itself between the station and the enemy ships. "What are they doing?" Q asked. "One ship against a whole fleet. They'll be destroyed." But Hannah just smiled. "Watch," she said. As the council watched, amazed, the Thunderbolt began to glow. A field of energy spread out from it, growing bigger and bigger. When it touched the first Tsar ship, something incredible happened. The Tsar ship just stopped. Its engines went dark. It floated helplessly in space. One by one, each ship in the Tsar fleet went dark as the energy field touched it. In less than 5 minutes, the entire fleet was floating harmlessly in space, unable to move or fight. The council room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Everyone stared at the hologram, unable to believe what they had just seen. Hannah turned to the council. "That," she said, "was an electromagnetic pulse weapon. It shuts down all electronic systems. The Tsar fleet is now helpless. You can send ships to arrest them if you want." She looked at each council member in turn. "This is what humans can do," she said. "We don't want to fight you. We want to join you, to help protect the galaxy. But make no mistake, we will not be pushed around. We will not be treated as a weak or primitive species." Jay stood up slowly. He looked at Hannah with new respect in his eyes. "Captain," he said, "I think it's time we had a real talk about Earth joining the Galactic Council." Hannah smiled. "That," she said, "is exactly what we came here for." As the council members began to discuss this new idea, many of them looked at the humans with a mix of fear and admiration. They all knew one thing for sure: the galaxy would never be the same again. The Galactic Council room was buzzing with excitement. After seeing what the human ship could do, everyone was talking at once. Some were scared, some were amazed, but all of them knew things had changed forever. High Counselor Jay stood up and raised his hands for quiet. Slowly, the room fell silent. "Fellow council members," Jay said, his voice strong and clear, "we have seen something incredible today. The humans have shown us technology beyond our imagination. They have also saved us from a dangerous attack." He paused and looked at Captain Hannah. "I think it's time we listen to what they have to say." Hannah nodded and stood up. She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each council member. "We didn't come here to fight," she said. "We came here to join you. Earth wants to be part of the galactic community. We want to share our knowledge, our technology, and our friendship." A council member with green scales spoke up. "But why did you come with a warship?" he asked. "That doesn't seem very friendly." Hannah smiled. "We came prepared for anything," she said. "We didn't know if you would welcome us or attack us. The Thunderbolt is our protection, but it's also a symbol of what we can offer." She walked to the center of the room, where the hologram of space was still showing. With a wave of her hand, the image changed. Now it showed Earth, a beautiful blue and green planet. "This is our home," Hannah said softly. "For thousands of years, We thought we were alone in the universe. We dreamed of the stars, wondering if anyone else was out there. She looked at the council members. Now we know we're not alone, and we want to be your friends and allies. The room was quiet. Many of the aliens were looking at Earth with wonder in their eyes. Counselor Day, the small alien with silver skin, spoke up. "What exactly are you offering?" he asked. Hannah smiled. "We're offering our help," she said. "Our technology can help defend peaceful worlds from attackers like the Tsar. Our scientists can work with yours to solve problems. Our artists and thinkers can share new ideas with the galaxy." She paused and looked serious. "But we want something in return," she said. "We want to be treated as equals. We want a seat on this council, and we want guarantees that Earth will be protected and respected." The council members started talking again. Some nodded in agreement, but others looked worried. Counselor Q, who had been against the humans before, stood up. "How do we know we can trust you?" he asked. "How do we know you won't use your powerful weapons against us?" Hannah turned to him. "Trust has to start somewhere," she said. "We're offering you our hand in friendship. It's up to you to take it." High Counselor J nodded slowly. "Captain Hannah is right," he said. "We have a choice to make. We can welcome the humans and gain a powerful ally, or we can reject them and potentially make a dangerous enemy." He looked around the room. "I propose we vote on accepting Earth into the Galactic Council," he said. "But first, let's hear from Captain Hannah about Earth's plans and intentions." Hannah nodded. She touched her wrist device, and a new hologram appeared. It showed images of Earth's cities, its people, its achievements. "Let me tell you about Earth," she said. "Let me show you who we are and what we dream of." As Hannah began to speak, the council members leaned forward, listening closely. They knew they were witnessing the historic moment. The galaxy was changing, and Earth was at the center of it all. Some were excited, some were scared, but all of them knew one thing. After today, nothing would ever be the same. The humans had arrived, and the Galactic Council would never be the same again. The Galactic Council room was silent as Captain Hannah finished speaking about Earth. She had shown them images of Earth's great cities, its beautiful nature, and its diverse people. She had talked about human history, from ancient times to the space age, and she had explained Earth's hopes for the future. When Hannah was done, High Counselor J stood up. "Thank you, Captain," he said. "You have given us much to think about." He turned to the other council members. "It is time for us to vote. Will we accept Earth into the Galactic Council?" The room was quiet for a moment. Then, one by one, the council members started to speak. Counselor Day, the small alien with silver skin, spoke first. "I vote yes," he said. "The humans have much to offer us. Their creativity and determination could help solve many of our problems." Counselor Q, who had been against the humans at first, surprised everyone. "I also vote yes," he said. "They have shown great power, but also wisdom in how they use it. We need allies like that." More and more council members voted. Some said yes right away. Others took time to think. A few still had doubts and voted no. But in the end, the result was clear. High Counselor Jia looked at Captain Hannah and smiled. "Captain," he said, "by a large majority, the Galactic Council has voted to accept Earth as a full member. Welcome to the galactic community." The room erupted in cheers and applause. Many council members came to shake hands with Hannah and her team. Even those who had voted no seemed to accept the decision. Hannah looked happy, but also serious. "Thank you, High Counselor," she said. "Earth is honored to join you. We promise to be good allies and friends." Jay nodded. "Now," he said, "we have much work to do. We need to prepare for Earth's official entry into the Council, and we need to start sharing knowledge and technology." He turned to the Council. "I propose we create a special team to work with the humans," he said. "We need to learn from each other and find ways to work together." The Council quickly agreed. They chose members from different planets to be part of this team. Each one had special skills or knowledge that could help. Ja looked at Hannah. "Captain," he said, "who will represent Earth on this team?" Hannah smiled. "If it's all right with you," she said, "I'd like to be Earth's first official ambassador to the Galactic Council." Jay nodded, looking pleased. "We would be honored," he said. As the council members talked excitedly about the future, Hannah stepped aside to speak with her team. "We did it," said Ta, her second in command. "Earth is part of the Galactic Council now." Hannah nodded. "Yes," she said, "but this is just the beginning. We have a lot of work ahead of us." She looked out the window at the stars. "Think about it," she said softly. "All those worlds out there, all those civilizations, and now Earth is part of it all." Ta smiled. "It's exciting," he said, "and a little scary." "That's what makes it an adventure," Hannah replied with a grin. Back in the council room, plans were already being made. Some wanted to visit Earth right away. Others were eager to learn about human technology. A few were even talking about cultural exchanges, like art shows and music concerts. As the day ended, High Counselor Jay made one last announcement. "Tomorrow," he said, "we will send a message to all worlds in the Council. We will tell them about Earth and our new human friends." He looked at Hannah. "The galaxy will never be the same," he said, "but I think it will be better. Together, we can do great things." Hannah nodded. "Together," she agreed. As the council meeting ended and people started to leave, there was a feeling of excitement in the air. A new era had begun. Humans and aliens working side by side. The stars were no longer distant and unknown. They were full of new friends and new adventures. And it had all started with one human warship that came to the Galactic Council and changed everything.